Hey everybody, welcome back to X-Plane 11. I am Bill, and today I'm going to show you guys around the JustFlight Piper Arrow III. And right off the bat, as you can probably tell, it looks absolutely fantastic. This is a $42 general aviation downloadable plane, which is a lot of money for the type of plane this is. And initially, I have to admit, I was kind of disappointed with it when I first got it. But now that I've been flying it around, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Literally as of last night, I'm like, I don't think this plane is worth it, but I got it running, I got it working, and it's definitely worth it. So the main reason why I was a little bit hesitant to be super happy with it is it was not totally plug and play. I downloaded it from the X-Plane org store, and it was totally broken. None of the sounds worked, none of the system worked. A lot of the animations were broken. So I was like, this, for $42, what the hell is this plane? I sent an email to the X-Plane org customer service email address. They got back to me really quick, actually. Gave me some links for some updated C++ plugins that I was apparently missing and is necessary to run this plane. Downloaded those, and it works great. So I'm still a little disappointed that I had to go through that, given that the other planes I've downloaded did not have that issue. But now that I've got it working, it looks, I don't think there's a better looking GA plane made for this simulator. Look at the detail, and the texturing is absolutely fantastic. I could seriously just sit here and look at and just stare at this. It's so cool and looks so real. But yeah, as you can see, this little pop-out menu here, we've got some cool functionality with the plane, which we can go through all of that. Let's get into the pilot seat here. So first up, like I showed you, we've got the door and the cargo door as well, and that pops open there. We've got the little GPS pop out, so that's cool. Functionality is kind of an X-Plane thing where if you click on it, it pops up, so might not be as useful, but still nice to have. Windshield on and off, so that's kind of a nice function. Having the glass out of here helps with frame rates a little bit, but it's kind of nice to have that on and get the reflections. So this is kind of nice. This is just like a quick for the reflective surfaces on the instruments. So there is full reflections, and you can see the reflections are really nice. It's kind of nice to have those off, honestly. That's how I've been flying it. There's a little bit too much glare, but we can try it. I'll leave those on for now. We got the dome light, which I don't think is going to make any difference since we're in the daytime. This is a quick menu for the autopilot, so that looks good, and it is just directional. It is not, there's no altitude on there. Barometric pressure, I haven't really screwed with that much since I've just been inputting it manually, but I think this is bar and inches, so I just kind of leave that in inches. Auto fuel, oil. This is kind of like a catch-all systems. So we've got total fuel, we've got fuel pressure, oil temp, battery voltage, and spark plug fouling and vapor lock. So this will actually foul the spark plugs if you leave the engine idling for too long. So a nice realistic touch. Weight here, that brings you just to the default X-plane weight and balance screen. You can update the different channels of the volume, which is kind of a cool idea to break those things down so you can kind of fine tune it to your liking. That is just a quick start. So it's kind of, I don't know why it turned me around. That was kind of weird. So quick start is kind of nice when you're on the ground, so you don't have to spawn it in with engines running. You can actually just click that and everything fires up. I'm going to wait for that one. Flight computer. So this is kind of nice. Fuel burn, gives you wind components. Something to kind of reference as you're flying along to double check to see, you know, what if you're flight planning, you know, fuel burn. I wouldn't necessarily use this if I'm kind of learning, but it's nice to have that as a quick reference if you want. So that's cool. Logbook, that's just the regular X-plane logbook. Tow, this is only available if you have a tow available at the airport. And then static displays. So what I skipped was the checklist, and this is pretty cool. So you've got this pre-flight checklist, which you can move around the screen, and it will highlight things as you check them. So we could just kind of go through them. Pre-flight, we got landing gear down, parking brake set, avionics off, mixture idle cutoff, magneto switch off, battery master switch on. So that's right here. Fuel gauges, quantity. Yeah, I get it. That is super annoying. Okay, fuel, check, that looks good. Annunciator panel, check. Sounds good. Battery master switch off. Primary flight controls, check operation. So it's, and I won't go through all of this, but it is pretty, it's handy to not have to have something else. So you don't have to have it on another screen or a physical checklist. You can just kind of pop this thing up, and it just it saves wherever you last had it, so you can move it around, which is nice. So that looks good. Flight operations good. Trim neutral. Baggage door closed. Flap aileron. So you can just chalk. So here's the I can show you the static elements. So we got chocks and the tie down. And now we don't. God, seriously, look how cool this plane looks. Look at that cone, that nose cone. The reflection is insane. It is super well done. Okay, let's get back inside here. Yeah, chocks removed, tow bar, engine, oil, check level, propeller, check condition. Landing light, check. So we'll just kind of smoke through that before start. Brakes, circuit breakers in, alternate air off, propeller full forward, avionics off, fuel sectors air tank. Okay, so I will kind of begin to show you continue to show you kind of the functionality that we have here. So Arrow has the prop. So it's not a fixed prop. We've got that. it also has landing gear. So versus the like Archer or Cherokee, you've got the variable speed prop and the landing gear. So let's just get this thing started. So let's go battery, alternator, and we'll come to that in a second. Battery master switch on, fuel pump on. Okay. So this is an important one, is you got to turn on the fuel. And what you saw right there is the default, one of the default camera setups. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I have to say, these are the best default camera setups that I've seen. They're so nice. I haven't touched them. I haven't wanted to save any because they're so good. Okay, let's get that thing out of here. All right, so we've got, let's go back one. Okay, those are all good, yeah. Okay, throttle, we're going to get throttle at 1/2 inch open. So it's about right there. Alternator switch on, yeah, we already did that. Battery master switch on. Fuel pump on. This sounds good. And you can see we've got fuel pressure comes alive there, which it does not do in a lot of other planes. Mixture to rich, then idle cutoff, prop clear, and starter engaged. And once we get the starter engaged, we're going to give it some mixture. And it just kind of starts up. There's not really much of a turnover. Full rich, propeller clear, starting then mixture full rich. Confirm, magnetos to both. Got it. Oil pressure check. So oil pressure is over. Let's see if we can. Oil pressure is over here. That looks good. And oil temp should be coming up. Let's give it a little more throttle. It should be coming up here momentarily. Fuel pressure still looks good. Okay, it looks like it's slowly starting to creep up. Let's get this thing figured out now. Let's just put that, and that lines it up there. That's kind of nice. So you don't have to manually line it up. You just click it in, and it'll line it up for you. So that's a nice little feature. And we don't need full mixture on the ground. Let's see, is that oil temp coming up? Not yet. So oil pressure check, throttle 14 to 1500 RPM. Let's bring that up there a little bit more. That's good. Okay, so now we can move it to the next page. Taxiing, area clear, parking brake release, throttle slowly, all that stuff, yeah. Okay, so let's get rid of that guy. Probably should have put somewhere on that checklist that we want some lights. Every single one of these works. It's awesome. Look at that. That is too cool. Okay. So we are at Van Nuys, and we're just going to taxi just basically straight ahead right here and do our run up. Let's get this out of here. The ground handling is still not great. You know, X-Plane does not have the best reputation for that. This one is definitely one of the better ones. The brakes are nice. It stops right when you want it to. So let's get checklist open up again. And we've got parking brake set, propeller, full forward. So let's get full propeller. And let's get throttle to 2000 RPM. It's tough to see that with the yoke in the way. Okay, there's 2000. Magnetos, let's check for the drop. Yep. And right. And back. Whoops. Okay, that's good. Vacuum. Yep, we're right between 4 and 5. Good. Oil temp. Coming up. Oil pressure. Good. Amp meter. Good. Annunciator panel. We did that. Good. Propeller exercise, then full forward. Okay, that looks good. Alternate air. Oops. That should be closed. We're good. Fuel pump off. Fuel pressure. Fuel pressure looks good still. Yep. And throttle retard. And fuel pressure drops a little bit. Okay, before takeoff, battery master switch on, alternator switch on, instruments check, fuel selector desired tank, fuel pump on, which we just turned off, that's okay. Engine checks, green, 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 green. Good. Mixture set, propeller set, flaps, trim, all that stuff. Doors latched, okay. We're not going to be too pedantic about that, but let's put in one notch of flaps. And it just kind of pulls up on this lever a little bit, which you can do manually, but it's got it on a key binding. Okay, so we're at Van Nuys, and we're just going to do a little pattern work, so you can see and hear it in action. GNS 530, it's typical X-Plane, so nothing new there. There's only one nav on this, so you've got the second navcom over here, which is a nice little old school guy, but it works the nav2 right there. So functional, everything's functional. Okay, so we got one notch of flaps in, and we're just going to stick to a little pattern here. Okay. This thing sounds good once it's opened up. Hopefully I've got the volume set well enough so you can hear it. Okay, lined up, pulling hard to the left. Airspeed is alive. There's full throttle. And we've got 60 and 70, 75, rotate, and immediately crash. What in the actual crap was that? Okay. Okay, I am 100% leaving that crash in there because I figured out what happened, and it's totally ridiculous. Somehow, and I mean honestly, somehow, my flight stick roll axis got reversed. So left was right and right was left. So when I'm trying to correct to the right, it was sending it into a left spin. Oh my god. So that is not a reflection on the JustFlight Piper Arrow. That was fluky. That's weird. That was weird. So, okay. Let's do this again with correct flight controls. That's why you've got a pre-flight check. Okay, so here we go. This thing sounds so good. Airspeed is alive. Air is 60. 70, 75. Rotate. Looking good. Let's get the gear up. Gear is up, and let's get the flaps up as well. Nice rate of climb, just about 90, 95 knots. I guess we're a little bit under 90. Climbs out nice though. And let's start with the right pattern. So let's bring it around here. The textures are the best. Simply put, they're just the best. Okay. There's our nice crosswind at Van Nuys. And let's go downwind. Now this is a pretty short flight, so there's, you know, I'm not gonna really go through all of the avionics and stuff. You know, I didn't even get our barometric pressure or anything, but I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like, what it sounds like, and just some of my thoughts on it. The reason why I wanted to get this plane is I'm going to be flying a Piper here pretty soon, and I mean the prices of Piper airplanes, the real ones, are so much better. I mean, you can find some really nice deals on some, you know, Cherokees and Warriors. So I wanted to fly one, take a class in one, and one of the flight schools that I'm looking at taking, you know, flight training with has a Piper Archer. So it's very similar to this. This just has the variable speed prop and the retractable landing gear, but otherwise the instrument cluster cockpit is identical. So I'm basically just using this to get acquainted with the, you know, Piper layout. I've flown a few Cherokees with my dad, but that was a while ago. So we're gonna do a really short final here. Take it in kind of high. So that's why I wanted to get this plane, and this is really the only Piper to get. There's a couple of cheaper ones out there, but this one, to me, I mean, it was tough to swallow the $42 initially, but now having actually flown it, it's worth it because every system in this plane works and it's fantastic. So this is a real short final. So it's a low wing plane, so it's going to have some ground effect, or at least should. So we can just grease it down. Now that happened to me before when I was doing some first flights last night. Is it gives you that crashing sound, and it actually looks a lot better on the outside than it does on the inside. There's 75. It sounds worse, but that actually wasn't too bad of a landing. So something to consider on that. It's a little bit noisy if you don't get it just right. Okay, now I'm going to do right pattern and do kind of a normal approach on what is it, 3-4 right, I believe. But unbelievable. I mean, it feels fantastic. It looks great. The reflective surfaces are good. Good. They're amazing. Even the left side of the yoke, the paint is worn off, which I love. I love that. The engine sounds fantastic. It has kind of like a raw, slightly rough, but real feel to it. Another thing that takes some getting used to if you are not used to flying a Piper is the trim wheel there's no indicator where where neutral is. So if you're into playing in real life, you can feel the back pressure on the yoke. You don't get that luxury in the simulator, so it's really hard to tell where the plane is trimmed. So if I let go, the nose is going to shoot straight up. So there's letting go, and it just shoots straight up. So I'm kind of having to fight the yoke a little bit and fight the trim. That I have not gotten used to yet. And it probably is going to take a little bit of playing around with some of the settings and getting maybe the trim adjustment to be a little bit finer than I probably have it. So let's reduce power a little bit more, going a little fast. I'm going to make my turn right over this interchange here. That'll give us a nice long run up. Apologies for that little hiccup there. Nice OBS crash. Hasn't done that in a while. It doesn't crash ever when I stream. It seems like only when I'm doing a recording it crash. So maybe that's OBS telling me to stream more. Nice little ortho scenery here. Stable so far, and I've got it. The pitch is pretty nice. Don't want to over slow it though. I think 70 is about right. Anything slower than that, and gonna have to we go. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a lot. If you haven't spent that much money on a downloadable anything in this simulator, it takes a little bit to make that purchase for the first time. But what you get, I think, is definitely worth it. If you're wanting to learn how to fly and your flight school has a Piper and you want to get more familiar with it, this is absolutely fantastic. If you're a sim fan and you just want the best possible GA plane available in X-Plane, this is it. And really, like, Flight Simulator as well. I mean, I think JustFlight makes this for Flight Simulator also. But this is it. This is just the most dialed in GA plane, at least that I've come across so far. Highly recommend it. It takes a little bit at first to, you know, make sure that you've got all the right plugins and everything, but once you do, it's so cool. And the lighting in here sucks. That's terrible. Pull it outside. It's not super nice on frame rate. And another thing that I've noticed is the lights, especially the strobes, look a little bit goofy. It does some clipping a little bit on the wingtip there, so that's not 100%, but that's being pretty nitpicky. Let me do a little run up. Oh, and I think that was actually the spark plugs. Yeah, spark plugs were fouling up a little bit. Yeah, so check this out. What a run up sounds like. God, that sounds so cool. Alright guys, well there it is. JustFlight Piper Arrow. I'm getting these all confused now. Yeah, Piper Arrow. Piper Arrow 3 must have. This is the freaking coolest. Yeah. What is it doing right now? Why is it not shutting off? There we go. That was kind of weird. Maybe there's a lock on that I'm unaware of? Yeah. There is a lock on that. That's kind of cool. I have a feeling I'm going to be finding stuff out like that on this plane because literally everything... Look at that. That little tab is actually functional in this. That is freaking sweet. Well, there you go. I'll learn what all these buttons and all these things do eventually. Whoa. Okay, so for the third time, thanks for watching. This was a little bit all over the place, so I apologize, but I still wanted to do kind of a somewhat brief look around this plane and brief little flight to give you an idea just how cool it is. Alright guys, well, subscribe if you haven't. I am streaming on Twitch now as well, twitch.tv/Bill Ferrelli, same as the YouTube channel. And also check me out on the Newegg Twitch every Wednesday and Friday. That's twitch.tv/Newegg. We play some pretty cool games if you want to give that a shot as well. So alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.